Everybody, appreciate you making the effort to be here. Just a couple of things to kind of kick this off. 2025 Media Day. Been pleased with the effort and the attitude of our football team throughout this offseason. I've said it a couple of times. We need to build off of that. That's what we're working on right now, to have the type of preseason camp that we need to have. But the competition level is at an all-time high. I think offense, defense, receivers, DBs, running back, linebackers, offensive coaches, defensive coaches. There's a ton of energy at practice. I think some of it is from our new coaches and what they've brought to the table, some of these new players and the energy that they bring. But, we're always grounded in fundamentals around here. We're never going to lose sight of that. But we've embraced some structural changes, and we're leaning into the new offense, some new things on defense. And, I'm excited about where we're at. We've had 5 practices. We've got our first full padded live practice today. So we'll learn a little bit more about this group by this evening. But there's a bunch of opportunities left. We break this thing down into a series of mini camps, and we're only completing mini camp number 2 today, and there's 6 of them. So got a bunch of work left to do to have a chance to be the team that we can be. So the other thing I want to mention is we've got Fan Day next Friday. I encourage our fans to come out. It's open to the public to meet some of these new faces. We got a lot of new guys that'll be in our 2 deep and that will be, making plays in Lane Stadium. And when you're watching us on TV or watching us here at home, I get to know these guys. They're an outstanding group of young men, and we're excited to host everybody next Friday and continue to build the relationships with the best fan base in America. So I'll take some questions at this point.
We saw Terry and Stewart out there for the first time the other day. Sort of a bowling ball of a pack, it looks like. When you
said that, I didn't.
Body shape. When you're scouting him, when he's on the transfer market, what are you seeing in his game?
Yeah, Terry has really good balance. He's a strong runner. He can make the inside cuts. He's hard to tackle. So I think, first and foremost, we had to find somebody that could carry the ball like that. He's got some things to work on, but he's a smart guy, he's an experienced guy. I think he's got some traits, some of the things that Bayshaw had, and then obviously some other guys in the room can complement that.
I was going to ask about that. Do you feel like there's a variance of skills in that room that can maybe not replicate what Bayshaw did last year by himself, but come close to recreating that?
Yeah, I feel really good about the depth and the quality in that room. I think it's Coach Brooks and Coach Montgomery harnessing that. Whether it's Hawkins right now has had a great camp. P.J. Prelude is back healthy and has already shown us some good things. Bennett has had moments. And then obviously Jeremiah Coney has done some good things. I think Tyler Mason. As I mentioned last week to somebody, it's one of the more competitive rooms right now. How's that going to shake out, and who's going to be our 3 backs that get touches? I don't know that it'll go much deeper than that, but it's going to be interesting to see. I love the candidates. I love the competition. And, to me, finding a way to run the football effectively, that's what it's about. That's the end goal. Whether it's 3 guys, whether it's 1 guy, whether it's 2 guys, we got to be able to do that.
For a follow-up on that, is PJ back faster than you expected him to be?
Yeah, he's always a guy. He's relentless in his rehab. He takes great care of himself. He's got incredible determination. So I wasn't surprised that he's ahead of schedule. And, he looks good out there.
I wanted to ask about Pop. Last year, you brought in a midseason transfer in Colin Schley to battle him to be the number 2 guy. He's going into again this year with another summer enrollee. What's his mindset? And did last year having to go through that battle and then getting some reps at the end of the year help him in the mindset going into battling for the number 2 job this year?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. He is in a much better place. He's not worried about the other guy. He's focused on his play, his technique, his mechanics, his improvements, his decision-making, his reads, and he's improved. After 5 practices, I'm not sure that I've seen him play as consistently this well. He's had moments, but he hasn't been able to do it just day after day. I'm seeing a lot of good things out of him right now.
Brent, several years into the whole NIL and the transfer portal and all that, how comfortable are you with the whole system now at this point, and where are you guys better at doing this now than what you did, whatever kind of things you learned from all this so far?
Yeah, we're certainly in a better place. We've had tremendous support from the university, from Witt, from Dr. Sands. There's a real investment in football here. But I think most of all, you gain experience through experience, right? And going through the negotiations with these guys in the portal, going through negotiations with guys coming out of high school, going through negotiations, retaining players on your team. You learn more and more about the landscape and how other folks are doing it. And, so you better educate yourself and you put your best practice out there. And I think we've done a nice job. Kelly Woolwine and Mitch Gerber and those guys. We're not certainly perfect, but we've done a nice job evolving as it's evolved and trying to be at the forefront of things. We're not where we need to be yet, but I think we're moving along pretty good.
You had said when the transfer portal really started going that you're always looking for guys that want to be here in the first place. Has that had adjusted at all at this point, or sometimes that's just kind of hopeful that's how that's going to be?
No, there's been no adjustment there. To me, it's awful important ingredient to who we bring in. We try and figure out first before there's contract talks, do you want to be here and why? And then let's see if we can make it work. That's been our approach. We're not overpaying anybody to come here or stay here. I want guys to come here for the right reasons and then have a chance to earn a quality contract as they do it out there in Lane Stadium. So, that formula's been pretty good for us to this point. Most of the transfers we've brought in have been productive, have been good teammates, have embraced the Hokie Nation and loved being here. So we're going to continue to work hard in that area.
Just another thing, your relationship with the new coordinators, how has that developed here during the summer?
Yeah, I'm very pleased with Phil and Monty, Phil and Sam, and also with Ferg. Those guys have done a tremendous job. It's not easy to come in new. Both of those guys came in with some fresh ideas, some structure changes, with a staff that was pretty much already in place. And so you got to coach the coaches before you even dive into the players. They've both done a tremendous job of that. With the support from Witt, we've been able to bring some additional assistants on board on each side of the ball to help us move things forward and to help those guys reinforce some new techniques, some new, schemes. So I think it's gone very well. My relationship with those guys, I would hope they'd say it's really good. It's a little bit different with Phil, and he's been a head coach before, and so the conversations can sometimes go a different direction. But and then Sam and I both being defensive guys, he's very accepting of some evaluations and observations that I have. It's been good with those guys. And I think Ferg, I've known Ferg a long time, and having him on board as an assistant and diving into some pretty in-depth conversations postseason, we have a great relationship. And I feel like he can come in and make sure his voice is heard on where we're at as a team or what he thinks we might need to do a little bit different.
You mentioned Hawkins a little earlier. What specifically have you liked about what you've seen from him?
He battled through an injury early spring, and when he finally got healthy, he showed us that he's a hard runner. He's got an explosive step to him, real eagerness. This offseason, this summer, he leaned up. he was probably carrying a little bit too much weight when he came to us. So he's a little faster. He's a little more explosive. He understands the system a little bit better. I think he's, arguably he might be the most well-rounded of the group that can do the most things at a pretty high level. There's some other guys that maybe do certain things better than him, but I would think I know that Coach Brooks and his staff is excited about what he's doing right now.
And then Caleb Woods, I know when we spoke with Benji a couple days ago, he mentioned that in one practice he had an interception, a couple other turnovers as well. Him going into his second year as a starter, what have you seen in his growth and building on that starting experience?
Yeah, first of all, I think Xavier Adibi has done a tremendous job tutoring Caleb. Caleb has arguably the best motor on the team. And when you run the ball that way, each and every snap, things are going to happen. And it's a great example for the rest of our defense. We show clips of Caleb a lot. Things happen around the ball, and he's always around the ball because he puts his foot in the ground, he drives, and he's around the football. But he's got, he's tough, he's tenacious, he's grown. It wasn't always easy for him. I think right now he's and he should be the most comfortable at the position that he's been. And he can play a little bit faster and see things a little bit easier, a little bit sooner. And he's got a good skill set. He's one of our hardest workers. He's changed his body. So, I'm very excited about him.
And then Cam Selden coming in, having now a full offseason working from running back and now at wide receiver this full offseason since he's been here. What have you seen from him working kind of in the slot and on the outside?
Yeah, you see some explosive plays. You see the potential there. He's a good student of the game. He's still learning the position. But, he's right in the mix of things, right in the throw of things. He's got tremendous speed and good build on him. He's a work in progress. He's still coming. And we look for him to have a good camp and find some consistency in his play, before we enter the season.
You went from an extremely experienced cornerback duo with Dorian and Mansour last year to this year, less starting experience there. Do you view Lovett and Williams as the top guys in those outside corner spots right now? And how do you view just the cornerbacks in general?
Yeah, right now I'd say it's more of a four-way between Dante, T. Will, IBM, who has a ton of experience in the secondary, and then Caleb Brown, who also has a ton of experience. We got a number of guys that have experience at other places. But, Christian Williams has had a pretty good camp. I think JoJo Krim, Deloach at times. It's a good room. There's more depth there. We don't arguably have two guys like Mansour and Dorian that, can walk in with all that experience and all that talent. But I like the group. I think Coach Jones does too. But it may be where, I personally felt like Dorian and Mansour played too much at times. We leaned on them a little bit too heavy when I looked back. So I think we'll have a little more depth and a little healthier rotation at the corner position.
What differentiates Caleb Brown from the others? He obviously came in April, or that's when you guys picked him up. So what does he kind of add to the room?
He's got length. He's got pretty good speed. He's a real technician. I look at JoJo Krim and I say that's Caleb in another year. Just a long guy that plays hard, runs pretty good, can lean on you, smart, tough. And again, he's got experience at a couple different levels. He's got a heck of a journey. When I look at a bunch of guys on this team, their stories are really, really special for a bunch of them. How they got to Virginia Tech. Out of high school, whether they weren't recruited or under-recruited or they went big time and it didn't work out. There's just a lot of good stories that we capture, and these guys, they're a motivated group. They've got things to prove as a team, the guys that were here with us in 24, and then a bunch of guys that got things to prove individually, show people kind of what they're all about.
In the spring, we spoke to you about the safeties and just the versatility, the different skill sets. A couple practices into the fall. Do you like what you're seeing about that group and how that's meshing together?
Yeah, I do. I think Christian Ellis explosive player. He had a soft tissue injury early, but I think we've got him back. Sherrod Koval is coming along as a complete safety. He's been really good in one aspect and just okay in the other. Tyson Flowers, the most well-rounded guy back there. Quentin Reddish, obviously a guy we know a lot about that can be a big-time playmaker for us. And then Isaiah Cash, you know, he's playing multiple positions back there, which a couple of those guys are doing to give us quality depth. But right now, I feel like we've got 5 safeties that can play.
Hey, Coach. How are you?
Hey.
Just a quick question. I know you've spoken so much about Coach Ferguson and what he's added to this program. What have you seen in the past few practices and to see that exponential growth has really been hit from bringing him in?
Yeah, I think a couple areas. We're leaner, but not necessarily lighter. We just look better in our uniforms. Secondly, we're moving around better, whether it's change of direction or straight line running. We look like a faster group all in all. Thirdly, we've been able to work harder, to work a little bit longer because of the condition we're in, the shape we're in, because of the type of summer we had. Our load, when you study what we're doing from a sports science standpoint, our loads are much heavier than what they were last year at this time. And we're able to put another rack of plays at the end of a segment that we couldn't do before, to make sure we're getting as many reps as we can without, hurting the guys and setting us back, physically. So there's a lot of benefit right now from the summer we had. And then between our sports science staff, our strength staff, our trainers, nutritionists, our coaches, just every day it's a conversation at the end of the night. Is the plan for tomorrow still the right plan from a rep count, from a timing count? You look at injuries, you look at where we were that day. Did we get enough work? Did we not get enough work? Did we overwork them? So we're trying to be very intentional about the time we're on the field and the reps that we're getting.
Right, you mentioned Xavier DB and the job he's done tutoring Caleb Williams. His journey coaching, he started at lower ranks and come up, and now he's back here. How have you seen him evolve into his position?
Yeah, it's been pleasant to watch. I was excited to bring Xavier on board. I didn't know him very well, but I had a long conversation with Coach Foster about Xavier and some others, and he was anxious. He'd been a coordinator at the smaller level, and he wanted more responsibility. And to be honest, I wasn't ready to give it to him. And we had some tough conversations. He took them very well, grew, embraced it. I'm very proud of where he's at right now and what he's bringing to our program.
Where did he need to grow?
I'm sorry?
Where did he need to grow?
Yeah, I think, for all of us, it's about when you have a weakness or you have concerns, it's being able to address those, own those, and improve. Myself, when you do some self-evaluation where you're at. I think being able to go from a coordinator to a position coach, let alone an assistant position coach, that's challenging. And, you've got your own ideas and your own things, and how you communicate those, how you put those on the table, how you take the feedback, whether it's positive or negative on your suggestions or ideas. A lot of young coaches go through that. And I think he's grown more this last year and a half than, the first couple of years with us.
Coach, a lot of new faces in the O-line room, including Coach Moore. What have you seen out of that group early on?
Yeah, I think ultimately they're playing together much better. They're more of a cohesive group. They communicate well. There's not a lot of just breakdowns that cost you. You can't get the play started. I think that we're a pretty good athletic group. We've got a little bit more depth than we've had. I think Coach Moore and Jens Danielson, his assistant, they work very well together. They've been together for a while. It's a good tandem. And the guys have embraced it. I think they're enjoying those coaches.
And you talked a lot about team building this offseason. Are you seeing the fruits of those efforts on the field early in camp?
Yeah, we are seeing, we're in a good place that way, but we're doubled down in that area. We haven't gotten away from it. As players, as coaches, in planning, it's going to continue to be a big part of who we are.
You've talked a lot about turning close games your way. They haven't gone your way yet. As you did your evaluation, as you prepare for this year, are there ways you approach practice games, things you plan to implement this year as a result of that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's some intentional things, and then there's some things, just decision-making. There's a lot of aspects that we've looked at, the mental and physical toughness of our team, who's in decision-making, who has perspective during a game to help make those decisions. I think, the way you build practice, whether it's approaching halftime, 2-minute, the finish of a game, fourth quarter, we're diving into situational football more than we ever have here. It's intentional, and there's some aspect of game situation on offense, defense, or special teams in every single practice we do right now. And it'll stay that way moving forward.
What are some of your favorite changes that are in college football over the offseason and in the preseason that have helped out this team specifically?
Favorite changes? I don't know. We've been able to, when you bring in new coordinators, having the ability to do football in the summer, which has been for a couple, that's a real plus. I don't know that we could be where we are as a team if we couldn't spend that time weekly with the players on football, not just lifting, running, conditioning. So that's a really good aspect. I think it's been good for our game.
On Zoom, please use the raise hand feature to ask questions for Coach Pry, and we'll open it to questions for Coach Pry. Take any final questions for Coach Pry on Zoom?
First and final.
We'll go back to you, Travis.
All right, we'll finish with David Teal in the room.
Brent, you mentioned spending more time on situational football than ever before. I imagine that includes overtime games, given your season last year.
Yeah, we've taken a deep dive. I think the group that Sam's been around in the NFL, at that level, situational football is, it's about a section that big in their playbook. And so we've taken a deep dive. We've brought a lot of them, into our planning and preparation. It starts with educating the guys in the meeting on what the situation of the day is, and then walking through it in our walkthrough phase, and then practicing it in the practice period. So, again, more guys that are comfortable in situations, and I'm just talking about players, it's coaches as well, that we've been in this situation, we've thought through it, we've talked through it. Some of it requires a conversation that night. Maybe we didn't like how it went at practice, or we learned something by doing it in practice. How do we feel about it now? The situations may never come up, but they might. So I feel good about the investment there. It's been healthy for us. All right, thanks everybody.